Welcome back to another weekend, to more daylight, the only daylight that I'm seeing at the moment. And I don't know about you, but that's a big thing for me over the next couple of months, or next probably more than a couple of months, we're only in November, is making sure that I make the time, I force myself to get outside and get some sort of daylight. It's actually brighter on the camera than it really is. It's one of those where you look out the window and you think, my goodness, I'm going to go do the necessaries for the animals, get everything done that I need to get done, and I'm going to come back inside and just cabin up. But I'm forcing myself not to do that. There's still so much that can be done in the garden at this time of the year, at least in my garden. If you're not as on top of things as some people might be, that's me anyway. It always feels so much better to get outside and get a little bit of fresh air, at least, if even if that's all you're doing. You don't necessarily have to get anything done. It's just good to get outside and get some vitamin D, especially at this time of the year, because it's so difficult to come by. Now, things that could quite easily be put off in the garden at the moment for me are cutting down the asparagus ferns, because they have come to their almost the end of their growing in terms of the foliage from a browning off point of view. We'll have a look at that in a second. Also the rhubarb, so the rhubarb can get, normally at this time of the year, what I do with the rhubarb is mulch it, and I've just actually read on the RHS website that rhubarb needs a period of cold, which I wasn't aware of, but apparently it needs the cold to encourage it to grow in the spring. So I'm going to put a little bit on, I think, but I'm going to put the majority of the mulch on in the spring as a feed. And also another thing that I'm going to do, I don't normally feed the asparagus in the spring with anything, only the horse manure, the rotted down horse manure, that's all anything ever gets here. But this year I think what I'm going to do is feed it with, again, I was looking up on the RHS website because there's so many bits of conflicting information out there. I'm going to feed it in the spring, so don't forget, when we get to the spring we need to do that, or else if you don't remind me I'll probably forget myself. I'm only kidding, I'll put it in my diary. Because the asparagus didn't do too well last year, which is why I'm thinking that I'm going to give it a feed. And also I've got some other ideas that I'm going to share with you as well. Now, another job that I can put off quite easily is cleaning the greenhouse. Can you see the colour of that roof because of those few storms that we've had? Now, I haven't got a contraption, you know, where you can fit to the hose pipe and you can wash it like that. I've got a soft brush and I've got fairy liquid and a hose pipe. None of them are attached to each other, so I'm going to give that a go at some point as well. This is all over the next few months. There's no sort of time constraints, as I said in the last video, to get these done. Probably the asparagus more so than the others. Now, something else that's happening in the garden, the Jerusalem artichokes have obviously completely finished growing and they're about ready to start harvesting. I know some of you guys have got those as well. I think they're called sunchokes in the US, but they are looking quite miserable in terms of there's nothing left upstairs. It's all downstairs now, and we can start harvesting those probably through December. Normally we use those mostly in January and February before they start growing again. Every year we think we've got them all, and every year they always come back. So this is the base of them. This is you can see we put quite a few back to stop them coming through, trying to make space for the beans that we had on here. Those beans are still here. This just needs a quick clear, and then for the winter we may put some more rotted horse manure on here. It depends how much we've got spare. And also something's been climbing on the compost heap there because I've pushed all of that back and it all seems to have come forward again, so that just needs stacking back up on there. Not a job that should take too long, but that's something, again, can put that off quite easily, so I'm saying it because we need to get to it. And then here with these beds, these sprouts, there's a few weeds and things, but these are sprouts that we're looking at. My goodness, I'm really pleased with how these are doing. Can you see in there? Plenty of food on the go there, and I love sprouts, so I'm chuffed to bits with those. This is the last thing that we've really got growing in the garden, I would say, at the moment, apart from the perennial kale, which is round here and looks like it's had a bit of a sad time. So there's still some fantastic leaves on which we can use, and they are just basically like cabbage or any other kale that you would use, but it's coming to the end of its happy life on the trunk that it's on, I think. So what I'm going to do with you guys is take some cuttings, which I've not done myself before, so we're going to figure out how to do that together. I have watched a video on it and it looks quite easy, and it's the kind of plant that wants to root and wants to grow again, so fingers crossed I'll be able to get those done. Now, another idea that I've got, this rhubarb here, so there's two plants. Now, if you remember, there was pallets across there, but as you know, Stephen ran out of pallets and was taking them from anywhere he could find them. And this bed, the ultimate sort of vision is I want to get these raspberries dug out. You guys know, if you're new here you won't know, but these raspberries are the bane of my life. I should have never put them in. They're not nice, they don't even taste nice, and they're not even prolific at growing. Probably just a bad idea all round. So these need to get dug out this winter, and this bed, what I think we're going to do is clear it and use it for vegetables again next year. So that means these two rhubarb need to find new homes. This left-hand rhubarb is super prolific. It comes back and it's been amazing over the last few years. Can you see how much there is though in terms of root, or whatever you would call that? Is it classed as a root if it's above the ground? And it completely wipes out this crown. So what I'm going to do, we're going to dig both of them out, and I'll show you in a second where I'm going to put them. But can you see part of the other problem? These flipping raspberries are just shooting up all over the place. We know that they do that. They go into the ground and they pop up and they get really annoying. So I'm going to try and get that cleared as much as possible. Take these two rhubarbs out, and they're going to go over in the beds that we've got the onions in. The end bed we'll go over in a second. I think they're going to go there. But also, if I take some cuttings from this perennial kale, then once those cuttings have established, I'm thinking that we're going to take this out here as well. I didn't know how perennial kale grew before. I've never grown it previously, and it basically turns into a bit of a tree. Look at the size of the trunk on that. So what I'll do with the next lot is stake it so it grows upwards instead of just leaving it to grow, you know, wherever it wants. I've tried lifting this up now, but it actually will just start snapping. So this is saying to me, you know, please leave me be. I don't want to be moved. I don't want to be stood up. So let's have it out once the cuttings have taken place. Now, rhubarb. So 2 crowns there. I think what we could do is split this one. This one has struggled, so I don't want to do any splitting of it or anything. I'm just going to leave it to try and establish for next year, because I think it's just been smothered by this one here. But this one is so big and prolific, I think we'll split that. And then if we go up here, in these 3 beds, if you remember me saying I haven't planted anything at the very end of this one or this one, I've taken the garlic all the way to the end on this one, which in hindsight, thinking what I was thinking now, I might not choose to do next year. But because this hedge here wipes out a lot of the moisture, zaps a lot of the moisture for the end of these beds, so I think I'm going to put a rhubarb crown, one in there and one in there, and then when the garlic comes out next year, I can put one in here if these two have established well. And I think that'll just work really well, because rhubarb wants to grow. Oh look, I think we found the problem of who's knocking the muck heaps down. Oh, I'll be back in a sec. The benefits of working in the vegetable plot, you hear when anybody pulls up at the front, so you don't miss the delivery. Christmas is coming. So very pleased with how those beds are getting on, and I think moving the rhubarb is a sensible idea. Tell me if you disagree, because I won't be doing it today. This is just my kind of list of things that I want to get done over the next daylight sessions that we've got. I suppose I could do it by night time. It's been heard of before, gardening by the torch. Anyway, oh, something's fell over here. Oh, another bed. Look at this. My fault. So this, I took this out when I was working along here and didn't move it back over to where it should be stored, and it's wiped this bed out here. Now, a lot of these beds are old in terms of the wood, so we do have quite a lot of replacements. You can see even the asparagus bed is dropping to bits, so it's coming apart. That one's not actually dropping to bits. Stephen has replaced quite a few of the sides, but timber is so expensive at the minute. We're basically trying to find anything on Marketplace that we can, you know, beg, steal and borrow, rather than paying a fortune for it, and just replacing as and where we can. This one here is also broken. It's just the wood is completely crumbled. It's rotten. So we'll do our best. But speaking of beds, well, first of all, let's say this is the asparagus. So I think what I'll have to do here is literally, obviously, tidy this up. Hello, Rodney. And chop the asparagus down to ground level. And then the ferns will possibly go along these paths again here, which worked out quite well to keep the weeds down. And then I will put horse manure all the way across that. That's not the feed that I was talking about. The feed, or the fertilizer, whatever you want to call it, I will apply in spring. I can hear another car. Oh, it's the farmer. Okay, let's go down here talking about raised beds. Hello, Trouble. Do you know, they love being out, absolutely love being out here. Right, this is where we left off last time. We haven't touched this since last weekend. Right, the area here, for those of you that didn't see the last video or two, was intended to be, sorry, the farmer's obviously got a trailer full on the back of his tractor as he bounces past. this was intended to be where the new polytunnel would go next year. The idea was that we would grow all of our tomatoes, peppers, aubergines, heat-loving things in the polytunnel. And then when Stephen took this out, just a quick recap, you may remember that it let so much light into these beds over here. We didn't realise how much these trees and everything that was the fence that was up, how much light it was blocking out for those beds. Now, that bed in the corner has never really been, you'll have to excuse the bits and pieces that are still out, as I say, only so much daylight to get stuff done. But that bed in the corner there has never really been very prolific. It looks well and it's doing okay, but it's never been very prolific, and I think that is because of the light. There's a lot of other things around here. So the fact that we've now cleared it, I don't want to recreate the same problem by blocking it again with a big polytunnel there. So we've decided against putting the polytunnel there, or even any polytunnel there. And I think what we're going to do, well, the options are, we're going to remove everything else that's in here, just continue with that plan, and we can either plant direct into the ground that's there, obviously filling the gaps in, etc., or we can put raised beds. Now, initially, I've always said I wouldn't want to do raised beds again, and the reason being is because obviously the sides can rot, as we're seeing, but also they harbour slugs, snails and everything else. And the raised beds that I've got, the widths that we've got in here, are not easy to lean over and work in. So the skinny beds, as we call them, in the corner with the garlic and onions in, are probably the best ones to be able to access from both sides. So I always said, if I do beds again, if I do another veg area again, I'll never do raised beds. But now it's coming with an option, I'm not too sure what to do. So we could possibly do, you know, just long beds, so going literally from top to bottom, and just having beds all the way along, but quite thin beds so that you can access them from both sides. But then you're losing spaced pathways and you need the timber. Could do more smaller beds, and then have, you know, I could have my outdoor tomatoes, my outdoor cucumbers, lots of squash, lots of beans. As you know, I've got tons of those coming along for next year. I can't wait for those, honestly, I really can't wait for them. Squash this year, we've only got the baked potato squash, which are delicious, so definitely doing those again next year. But they can be done in containers because they're just a bush variety, they're not trailing. Anyway, sorry, digressing. So let me turn you around again. So we could do beds all the way along, is what I'm saying. Long, skinny beds, and maybe have 2, 3, no, it'll be 3 or 4 rather, wouldn't it, of those. Or we could do beds halfway, and then halfway again with a path across the middle. Or we could do 3 smaller beds. What we're thinking about doing at the back here, behind this hedge will come out, is, so the compost bins, the muck heaps, they're not muck heaps, either the compost bins that are over there, we're going to replace here, so that gives me full use of that bed again that's over there. We'll get that space back, put compost bays, purpose-built compost bays all the way across there, you know, with some what they're called flagstones, so that we can keep it neat and tidy, and then they won't just be temporary like those ones are in the bed over yonder there. That's quite a lot of waffle, isn't it? So sorry about that. I think you get the idea. At the moment, I'm thinking, do I do in-ground beds here and then just create paths with, you know, either cardboard or ground membrane or something? I could do all of this area here as squash and just then make the decision next year to see how things grow this year. We could put the beds in straight away because we did pick up some timber from Marketplace. Did I show that to you guys? I can't remember. But some huge big sleepers that there was a lovely lady who couldn't get rid of them, and she basically just wanted them gone. So we obviously jumped to her rescue and got them for free. She was chuffed to bits, we were chuffed to bits, and we have kept those there thinking, right, we'll see what we're gonna repair some of these beds with them. But now Stephen's saying maybe we could do the raised beds with them, and get those done over the winter, ready to start using when we plant out in sort of May time next year. Or do I just do what I said and plant it all as squash? So that then says where we're going to put the polytunnel, because we still would like a polytunnel, you know, for all of the heat loving stuff. I know we've got the greenhouse and we've got this little one here, but this little one here is very much on its last legs. It's probably only going to last us, I mean, to be fair, it struggled this year, just because it's got rips and tears all over the place that have been repaired. There's only so many repairs that you can do. So we're talking again about putting a polytunnel in the very bottom of the area where we used to have the pigs. If you've been here before, you'll know where I'm talking about. If not, it's basically, I don't know, a stone's throw away, but it isn't linked to this plot that I'm on now. And then we're thinking, is that too much work to take on to maintain almost another plot? So that's the thought process at the moment. We are not too sure. Anyways, I actually better get some work done, or else I'm just going to be here chatting, and then the daylight will go and I'll have still got nothing done. Actually, before I do that, I want to give you an update on what's happening inside the polytunnel, because I got the garlic in here and I didn't show you it on the last video. This is just starting to come through, so let's have a quick look. Can you see what's this one? This is the red duke. I'm actually going to give this a water. It might look like some of it's quite damp, but that's just because of the holes in the roof of the polytunnel where the rain gets in. You can see it kind of splashes all over the place, and I'm sure one of the cats comes in here as well. But on this side, there's one or two in the background coming through, and again, I'm not sure if this needs a bit of a water, so I'm going to give them both a little bit of a drench just now, because you can see this is super dry, but this is quite wet. So we've got the varieties in here: the German giant, red duke, Russian giant, and the early purple. There's nothing in that back one if I remember rightly. Now I do have some bulbs still, some cloves that I want to get put into pots, because then they can plug the gaps. That's another job that I can get done in the shed with the light on. Don't need the daylight for that. I popped the camera just in the shed window there because it's spitting a little bit and I didn't want you guys getting wet. But it has uncovered a couple of problems, or things that need rectifying. So this post is snapped in the ground. I'm guessing that it's rotted, and obviously this now is sagging terribly. There's plenty of string left at this end just to once we've got the post in, to be able to tighten that back up. And obviously few weeds there now that I need to just go through and make sure that we get those taken out, because asparagus really doesn't like the weeds. And once that's done, I'll also weed along the edges of the bed as well, in the pathways. So this pathway here has got a few that's come through. This was the gravel that we took up from, where was it from? Oh, it was from where the trees were, over in that area, and Stephen just put a big pile of it there. Isn't it amazing? That is literally just gravel, but it has got weeds growing in it. They'll grow anywhere, won't they? So make sure I get all of these weeds out here. I'll try and fix this bed up a little bit so that it's a little bit safer, because there's nails sticking up and things. Once those weeds are out, I'll get a few barrows of muck in here. Again, no massive rush to get that done today. The big thing for me was to get the ferns down so that anything's not trying to still grow and give nutrients into the ferns. That can now just chill out for winter. I'll try and get the barrows put on, you know, one at a time, because where the muck heap is over yonder, it is so slippy. It's definitely a welly and gloves job, and probably need a fresh set of leggings or something when you're done, because no doubt I'll end up on my backside. But anyway, that's a good job done there. I think I'm really pleased with that. So let's get these weeds out and then get it covered up with some more muck. I'm not sure where the boys have gone in the meantime though. Jack's been out and he's been helping with the animals, so different jobs there for him, not working in the veg plot. But the boys have gone suspiciously quiet, so let's find where they are as well. Just shouted them. I spared you the audio of that. Here we go. Where have you two been? Where have you two been? Rodney will come, Buster will just go and do his own thing. Hello, my darling. Look at the state of your face. You have been having fun, haven't you? You are soaking wet. This one needs a bath today, that's for sure. You're getting mats and everything. I knew you were going to go and see what he's up to. Looks more interesting, doesn't it, than getting a stroke? Gardening with dogs. Gardening with dogs and horses, dear me. Who would have thought? Right, let's get some work done, boys. Well, it's already Sunday and I'm afraid I've been getting on without you. I'm so sorry. Yesterday afternoon got busy with lots of other non-gardening related stuff. So I'm trying to catch up now before I get on and do all of the animals, which I won't bother showing you on this video. You've seen that plenty before. but I want to try and catch up with what I didn't get done yesterday afternoon. What I hadn't mentioned to you is sweet peas. So I wanted to get some sweet peas sown, and I actually got those sown the other day. It's something that I've been wanting to try and over winter. I probably could have done them earlier in October, but whatever, hopefully they'll come good. I don't plan on doing any spring sowings unless none of these germinate. The flowers, this is not eating peas. Obviously you've already seen the eating peas that I've got in. And I also managed to get done yesterday afternoon off camera, so I did get a little bit more done after we were last chatting. I got the garlic in, so they're just here. Let me show you. So this is what we're looking at the moment. I've just put them in these type of containers where there's multiple ones, so we've got all of the same varieties. Where the varieties change, I've just put in a different label there. And what I want to work on, these ones are question mark, but I want to know that the varieties that I haven't labelled, so these have probably fell out of the bag, they were on the floor or something and I've not realised. I still want to grow them, but typically if they are one of the best bulbs that I've got, I know that I don't know the variety of it. I don't want to just leave them in here and then end up calling them by the wrong variety. So we've got the German Giant all in here, and two cloves that I can't remember what they are. I think they might be German Giant or they might be the Russian ones, so I don't want to give anybody any false information, hence why I've made sure that I've labelled them as such. And we've got all of the other ones in these little pots as well. Now I did have some herbs that I wanted to pot on as well. I did buy these and then completely forgot about them, but they are hardy perennials, so I'm hoping that they're going to come back. This one here is oregano, that's doing really well. We shall see. Right, the other onions that I said I was going to get put in the greenhouse, I want to get on with that today, but I do need a couple of barrows of muck, and it's super duper slippy over where the horse manure is, so I'm going to try and get those without falling flat on my face. I'll still get them even if I do, because I need to get that done. And then I'm going to put them around these brassicas, so I'll put the muck around the brassicas like I told you about last week. These seem to have taken okay. I'll give them a bit of a water before I put any horse manure on, and then that'll keep the moisture in, hopefully. Certainly haven't had any losses at the moment. And there's the peas and the broad beans looking super healthy. Now before I get to that though, these are the sweet peas that I was talking about. Lots of different varieties. So there's Royal Family, I don't know how to pronounce this one, Zorija, I'm not sure. Anyway, they look nice on the photo. Spencer mix as well. I'm sure I've got another packet that I don't know where I've put them. Painted Lady, and I got all of these in, I think the 15th, I'm sure that was the correct date. I sometimes guess the date and I'm a day or two out, but anyway, so they're doing okay, hopefully. No germination yet, it's a little bit too soon. Now, what I want to concentrate on today as well is taking the side shoots off these that I've mentioned in the last video or two, and also getting the perennial kale. This is me trying to propagate the perennial kale so that I can take it out of the ground where it is now. If I can get them to take root, so the cuttings, if I can get them to take root over the winter and I know that they're going to come good for next year, quite happily just take that perennial kale out, because we've got lots of other things that I can be using at the moment. We shall see. If they don't take root, I'll leave that perennial kale in and I'll try again in the spring. But hopefully if we take some cuttings and pop them in there, they should be okay. We shall see. And also, Ali, thank you for telling me about being able to take cuttings off the forsythia. Can I do that at this time of the year? I'll have to have a Google and see if I can do that now. There's no harm in trying, is there? So then at least I'll be able to keep that going should the horses destroy it. Right, let's go and get some kale cuttings first, I think. Right, this is what I've ended up with. Sorry, I haven't got my tripod with me, so I've just gone ahead and done it. I'm not sure if this is right, because I couldn't see anything on the plant that seemed to be like what I've seen in the video that's ideal for cuttings. So what I've done is just taken where I've got new growth, and hopefully, and obviously just chop the side leaves off. So I'll try, I'll see, we'll give it a go and we'll see what happens. Never done it before, so if you don't try, you'll never learn, I guess. Right, I've got 5 pots, and these are the cuttings that I've taken. You can see where I've taken the outer leaves off. I could probably take like this big leaf off, for example. We'll see how they get on. If it looks like it's suffering in the pot, then I will, because I don't want it concentrating on trying to keep these leaves alive when we want it to be taking root and putting up new shoots. So I've literally just filled these with compost. I'm glad I've only done 5 actually, because thinking about it, this is my last bag of compost. So yeah, we're down to the bare minimum now. So I've got the 5 pots ready, and I'm guessing, I mean, literally just do what I did with the tomatoes, just plonk them in. push them down a bit, which isn't easy just with one hand, especially because I've got hold of the camera with my dominant hand. Give them a water, and then hopefully, I mean, that might be the healthiest it's ever going to look. We'll see how it gets on, because these are going to be very useful for, oh, that looks a bit tatty, never mind, I'll give it a go. These are going to be super useful for not just feeding us next year, but animal feed as well. And I'm thinking in the spaces that we've created at the bottom, where we're unsure about what to do with the polytunnel, etc., and while we're making any decisions, and there's also a few other areas that I've got where I can put perennial kale, as in it can stay in and just do it, you know, do its own thing for as long as it can. We'll benefit from it from animal food as much as from human food. So that's the idea, because we're going all out next year from a self-sufficiency point of view. I'll tell you more about that in January. Right, well, I mean, easy enough. They're done while I'm chatting to you, so I'll get those watered and pop them to one side. Then that's a good job done. Incidentally, on these herbs, if they look really dry, they are super wet inside, and I added the compost on the top. So fingers crossed. I don't want to soak them out too much really, because especially this one over here, Lady's Mantle, doesn't like to be wet. So that's why I haven't given them any more water. Right, good job done there. I'll get these watered now, and then I need to start looking at filling this with the horse manure. Saying that, I need to do the tomato side shoots first, don't I? So I'll do the tomato side shoots, then I'll look at doing the horse manure, because those tomatoes are still looking really good, and it'd be a shame to lose them already. I mean, whether we get through the coldest of the months with them, we shall see. But I want to give it a go, even if, you know, it doesn't work, or even if I just get the one, then at least we've tried, and then I know I can chalk that one down to experience, or I can pass the information on to other people who can also give it a try. So that's what I'm doing it for as well, not just for me, but just to share it, because it's all good knowledge, isn't it, at the end of the day? Right, I'll get those tomatoes done first, then I'll get some barrows of muck. This is what we're working with first up, so I'm going to take this side shoot off this one, and then also around here we've got another cheeky little one. So there's two right next to each other on that plant, and then I think this one off the top of this plant here. The rest of this plant is suffering, and this plant hasn't really got any. I'm not sure if that one's going to be sufficient enough. We will see. I've got another few plants there. Anyway, I'll see how many I end up with. It's going to be difficult to throw away the mother plants, but at the end of the day, they've done their job. And if I take the side shoots off, there's no point in keeping the plants, because they're not going to now put on enough growth. You know, we're not going to get to this stage very quickly over winter. So I've got to be a big girl and learn to be able to put things on the compost heap when it's ready to. Right, I've looked at this plant here, and also this one. There isn't really another healthy side shoot that's kind of big enough that I'm going to take. So I've just got the one now. I've been taking the leaves off, as you can see there. So I'm going to pop this one in, and then that'll only give me 4, which is a little bit panicky because I had quite a lot more, and these had obviously got to a decent size. But, you know, got to move on. I think that one's probably too small as well. So what I'm going to do, all of this is going to go on the compost. Any of the, on the compost heap, and any of the compost that I can keep, I certainly will. And put that back in the bag, obviously, to repurpose it. But yeah, that's what I've ended up with. So I've got the four here, one still to do. Right, all done, and I'm just going to pop them back in here, try and get this a little bit neat and tidy, so you can see what we're working with. Actually, the other thing that I wanted to tell you is that, you know, the broad beans that we've got in, there's 2 varieties in there, and it's been on my mind because I want to keep the seeds from them next year. And obviously, I'm saying obviously, I didn't realise, but broad beans cross-pollinate apparently quite readily. So what I've decided to do is I think the bean that I want to keep, sorry, I'm balancing on that, I can't think of the word at the minute. The beans that I want to keep are these Super Aquadulce, rather than the Bunyard's Exhibition. Now, so that means that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Bunyard's Exhibition that therefore I won't be needing. So I'll see if my dad wants them. I'm not too sure if 4 plants will be sufficient to pollinate each other and to give a decent harvest, but he might just put them in a pot or something like that, in a little teepee pot. So what I've decided to do is, because I'm worried about any losses, obviously I've got some little black bits on some of these. I mean, is that frost? We did have a frost, but broad beans are super hardy, so I'm not sure. Should I pick that off, or let's pick that off? There we go, there's another one, but I don't know if I'm brave enough to pick that off yet. Let's see if that one survives. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I have just purchased 10 more organic broad bean seeds of this Super Aqua Dulce variety. I'm going to get them sown as soon as they come, and then that saves me from worrying about any cross-pollination with any other broad beans, and I can keep my seeds next year, because that's what one of the big things that I want to focus on is saving our own seed and not spending on seeds moving forward. I've done some of that this year with some of the beans and things that you've seen, but I really want to go a lot bigger next year where I can. So these peas are also looking really well. Now, I'm not sure with the peas if I'm going to be growing these to be kind of trying to put in the freezer or anything, because they take up a lot of space and it's a lot of work, but they tend to be something that we just eat there and then fresh. I'm not too sure if I'm going to be doing another tray of these or anything, because what I think we'll do is just have these in a little corner somewhere, and they can just be our fresh pickings whilst we're out harvesting other things. Some of them will go in salads or whatever, or, you know, as a side to the meal. But to grow enough peas for our family for the year, I would need a really, really large amount of peas. So I don't think that that's something that I'm going to try and be self-sufficient in. We either won't buy any more, I tend to buy them frozen. Well, I think most people do, don't they? Very few do you, not very often do you get them fresh in the supermarket. Anyway, I think I'll just commit to either not getting them once we've eaten these, or if I do, it's going to be frozen. So that's a decision that I'll need to make next year for quite a few things, actually. If we haven't got it growing here, do we want to purchase it at all? Well, it's another day, as you can maybe tell, and it's perfect weather for ducks, and that's about it. It's getting dark. I've just finished work. I wanted to come out and have a little check on things and just show you. Managed to get the brassicas and the rest of those onions in. I think there was 1 or 2 stragglers. There's no sign of the sweet peas or anything yet, so they're in here. This heating isn't on at the moment, so the tomatoes are in there, the kale and the sweet peas. I'm just going to let them be. So it's effectively just like a cold frame that they're in, unheated greenhouse. So fingers crossed they germinate okay. I know that people soak sweet peas or scratch the surface or something. I literally just put them in like I do every other seed, so we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, that's another week of gardening for me, so I will be back with another gardening video, hopefully. A lot of people are putting the gardens to bed now, but I've got too much to do to be able to not work through the winter. So I'll take you along for those, but we'll also have some Christmas style videos, Christmas on the Smallholding. Thank you for being with me, and I'll hopefully talk to you very soon.